Welcome to The Modern Truth. I'm MJ, here with Alex Storm, and today we're getting ready to talk about Mad Max Fury Road. As always, this is a spoiler discussion, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out, come back, and watch our video. So Alex, what did you think of Mad Max Fury Road?
Mad Max Fury Road is by far my favorite movie that I've seen this year, last year, and maybe ever. I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
That is a very powerful statement. Your favorite movie ever?
It might be. It
Wow.
really might
Wow.
be. It's that good.
And honestly, I kind of almost can agree with you. This movie is fucking awesome, okay? If you've seen it, you know this. I mean, this movie is so different from anything we've seen in such a long time. There's so many practical effects, so much like visceral, hardcore action. Basically, this movie is like everything that the movie industry has been missing for what feels like decades now.
It has original characters. It has super strong female lead, and it has a bunch of really weird looking different effects and different looking people without having a bunch of CGI robots and CGI explosions and CGI cars driving through buildings. It was so completely different. It was what I want in an action movie and what I want in, I don't know, a film that has some kind of a story, but the story is not even the most important part.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, for me, it's like this, you said the key word film. Like, you know, a lot of people get hung up on, oh, this movie didn't have a good story, or this movie didn't have a great plot, and this, that, and the other. And everyone's worried about all these, you know, individual things. A film it's a visual medium, and it's all about the sort of sum of its parts. This movie doesn't have like some super compelling, heart-wrenching story, but it is an amazing film. Like it hits everything that you want when you go to the cinema. And again, and I give so much credit to the practical effects. I really think that's like, because this movie is like a non-stop action sequence. It's 2 hours long. And
it doesn't feel like 2 hours.
Yeah, and the entire thing is basically just a chase sequence, right? I mean,
over and over, yeah.
It's just one really long action sequence, and you would think maybe that would be like exhausting. Eventually you'd be like, okay, I've seen enough. But they throw enough wrinkles into it, enough different types of action, and just like every time you think it can't get any crazier, another crazy thing gets added to it. So
and they didn't hold back.
Yeah.
There were things in this movie that I was like, oh, they're gonna go there. They're gonna, you know, they're gonna have these really typical female tropes, or they're gonna have this hint of romance between the two main characters, and they didn't do it. They just stuck to this super original idea and played it out, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and that's sort of the funny thing, because you say it's an original idea. The irony of this is that it's the fourth Mad Max film, but obviously this is like 20 plus years after the last one. And we're talking about a generation of people who have never heard of Mad Max, never seen Mad Max. And Mad Max himself is like a side character almost in this movie. Like this is really for Charlize Theron's character. She's the star of the movie. She has the redemptive arc. She is essentially the linchpin of this entire story. And that's kind of what Mad Max has always been in a weird way.
He doesn't have to be the main character, and even in his previous roles, he's not the center. Like there's still so much going on around him, and so I felt like his role in this was appropriate. And his character was actually, despite being a side character, he was really fun to watch. I loved his like very minimal dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just grunts and like looks of like, okay, that's cool. All right, we're doing this. And he didn't need to be any more than he was. He was exactly what he needed to be, and so was she, for that matter.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I really like about the movie is like this idea that they're in this really insane place, and everyone is kind of like treating it like it's normal, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like even
normal.
Max, he's like, man, I've been captured and I'm someone's blood sack or whatever he's called.
Blood bag.
Yeah, and he's a blood bag, and he's just kind of hanging out on the hood of a car. But he doesn't seem to be like freaking out about that at any
Just
point.
looking around like, oh, this sucks. I hope I get out of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. He's like so calm about it because again, even though this movie, it's a sequel, but it's like not really a sequel. It's like this kind of weird when it comes to like the previous movies, but you still have this character that's been lived in, that's seen things. So when he is in this really weird situation that you feel like another character would be like, what the hell is going on, and be totally freaked out, you're like, well, yeah, this is just another day, you know, for Mad Max. Literally, you know, 2 days ago before the movie started, he was in a similar situation or something. Like, it's just like, oh shit, this now, you know. So I think it was just a really cool way of approaching it. And the thing that I liked the most about the movie, and you can tell me more about this, I liked how the movie treated the audience like, I don't know, we're not complete idiots, basically. Like, there are all these little flourishes that are just unexplained, but they just really do a good job of building up, like, the universe of Mad Max.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's one of the high points of the movie, is there is all this crazy shit in this movie, and they don't try to explain it. They let people figure it out, or they just leave it alone. Like, we don't need to know why Charlize Theron is missing an arm. We don't need to know. We know she's badass, we know she's playing this role, and we know it doesn't matter. And same thing with her backstory. Like, there's like hints at it, and she talks a little bit about it as she's like taking the women and they're going back to this place that was her childhood, but that's all you need to know. And you don't need to know how she got there and how she ended up where she was and how she was escaping. Like, they don't try to explain anything. They leave it up to the audience, they leave it up to our imagination, and I think that shows a true artist.
Yeah.
I think that like letting us create our own world around what they give us makes the movie really awesome.
Yeah, this is almost like the anti-blockbuster. It's like, I think if another company made this movie, there would have definitely been another 20 minutes added just to explain how Furiosa lost her arm. Because why doesn't she have an arm? We need to know that. And there'll probably be some sob story about how she was running away and she had to chop her arm off or something. It would just be this bullshit backstory, just really ridiculous amount of plot. And it's amazing that they were able to make a 2-hour movie that is so light on plot. When you think about these 2-hour and 30-minute movies that are just bursting at the seams with plot. And it's still just like, it doesn't,
nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't resonate at all. It's like bursting at the seams with plot when we know at the end of it, the fucking world's going to be in danger and our heroes are going to fucking fight whatever supervillain or whatever. Fill in the blank, or, I mean, again, I don't want to go out here and single out movies, but, Furious 7, it has cars in it. A lot of action sequences. They go to like 8 fucking countries in that movie, and it's like you're sitting there the whole time and you're like, what the hell is going on? Well, here's the cool thing about Mad Max Fury Road. You're also like, what the hell is going on? Because it's batshit crazy, but yet on the most basic level, it's a story that every person can understand. Because essentially, it's a chase and it's about survival. So it's like, I don't really know why these guys are bald and why they're spraying paint or whatever the fuck it was they were spraying in their mouth and doing all this stuff. But they seem pretty dangerous and crazy. And they're going after these people who don't seem quite as dangerous and crazy. Yeah. And so, boom, that's my investment. That's it. That's
what we're cheering for. But even like all of the characters, it felt like so much work and so much detail was paid to all the characters and all the scenes, all the backgrounds. They made everyone look crazy. You could see the individual tribes, the different tribes that are coming after them. You could see distinguishable differences. I think that was one of the things that struck me compared to so many action movies today where everything that is the enemy looks the same. And it was all different. And even like our main characters, you could tell that they were different. And you could tell that they had different lives and different stories. And it was all just apparent from the images on the screen. They didn't need to tell you. And I think that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and we can just kind of go down the list. I mean, one of my favorite parts is the moment where they're driving toward the end of the movie and they're looking for the green place and there's like these dudes on stilts walking through like, I don't know, a marsh or something. And it's just like, I mean, the coolest thing about this is like, you were thinking maybe, would these be a threat? Would this be another like sequence of a fight happening? But they're just there, And that's like what's so interesting and amazing about this movie. It's like, there's like 20 side stories for like what's going on within the context of this movie. There's like fan fiction and they probably could have done, if this was like a normal blockbuster, they could have made like 5 graphic novel prequels to this or something explaining everything before this movie starts, but they don't. And so what you can do as an audience member, which is so rare in these days, is actually, again, fill in the gaps yourself. You can make up your own story about why Furiosa lost her arm. You can make up your own story about why there's a dude dangling on the front of a freaking vehicle playing a guitar with flames come out of it. What's his deal? I don't know, but he was fucking awesome, though, okay? Like, this movie is just fucking crazy, man. I don't know. This movie is awesome.
Yeah, yes, all of it. But we didn't even get to the coolest scenes. Like when they take off on the initial chase scene and you see the guys on drums and then it shoots the front of the vehicle with the guy playing the double deck guitar and just looking insane. I was like, this is over the top. They can't make this work. This is too crazy. But it actually, like, by the end of the movie where that guy, like, came back into play and he's, like, fighting Mad Max, I was just like, yes. I'm cheering so hard for this, like, scene even existing.
Yes.
I'm so glad this exists in the world.
Exactly. And I think that's, in a nutshell, why this movie is so amazing. Because there are, like, 10 of those scenes that you're just happy they exist. I mean, even the fight sequence, when Max first gets out of the car and he's chained to Nicholas Holt's character and he's chained to the door and he's like just like ragdolling the other guy while he's fighting someone else. Like, it's just so creative and just so crazy. It's so different. And it's just like, you see artistry at work. You see a creative mind that actually sat down, took their time and came up with something that was like interesting, Which
and
is
unique.
Yeah.
Completely unique.
And and this movie has been delayed for like years. There were reshoots. It just took forever to make this movie. And this is, to me, is a testament to what can happen if filmmakers are given time. If they don't have a release date that's announced 3 years before they, have even started thinking about the script, and it's just like, we got to make sure this movie's done. This movie was released when it was ready to be released, not when the studio was ready to release it. And, it may not make a lot of money. We don't know yet, but it's certainly one of the best films that has come out in years. And that's really what we want, right? I mean, we do, as movie lovers, we want good movies, right? And that's what this is. So
it completely broke the mold. And I think it broke it in so many ways that I can only hope that tons of people see this movie and that it's a light bulb for Hollywood to tell them they need to make something different. They need to make movies that are appealing, that aren't just the same story told over and over again, that aren't with the same tropes of characters told over and over again. And not to mention the amazing feminist aspect of this movie. Like Charlize Theron plays an awesome female character, an awesome female lead, who I don't think I've seen any movie with a female lead who wasn't sexualized in some way and who didn't fall into these like very typical female behaviors at some point in the movie. Like, she was tough, she was badass, she was like, this is gonna hurt, I don't care about your feelings, like fuck everything, this is what I'm doing. And it was awesome. And I love the fact that like towards the end, like when she does decide to go back, that she has this crew of women, and it's a crew of old women. It's not even a crew of like, I mean, she has beautiful young women with her who she was essentially rescuing, but then it's this crew of like just old badass ladies who go back to fight the bad guys and to like take over. And I have to say, I'm glad that the filmmakers weren't afraid to kill women either. On that aspect, if you're gonna have a female-centered film and it's gonna be an action movie, women are going to have to die, and they didn't hold back. And I love that there were strong females, and I love that there were so many females who were badass in this movie, but I also like that they were equal, on par, as far as like fighting and dying with the men.
And I don't know, man, there's just so many touches. And I guess this is a tough movie to talk about spoilers because there's not a lot of story there, but what we can talk about and have talked about is all the amazing fun things. I'm sure we missed a few things here or there because we could talk about it for hours, but hey, we gotta go at some point. So I think, have we covered everything we want to cover today?
Go see Mad Max, Fury Road.
I can't emphasize enough.
Tell your friends.
If for some strange reason you're watching the spoiler video and you haven't seen the movie, I implore you, go watch this movie. This movie is amazing. If you watch this video for the first time 3 years after Mad Max came out, and you haven't seen it, watch it and tell your friends. More people need to watch this movie. It's amazing. So, on that note, thank you for tuning in to the Modern Truth spoiler discussion of Mad Max Fury Road. Again, I am MJ. You can find me at the only MJ on Twitter, and she is...
I'm Alex Storm. You can follow me on Twitter, Alex Storm, TMT, as in the Modern Truth.
And that's where you can find all of your videos and the news, themoderntruth.com. Thanks again, guys. Take care.